Welcome, everyone. I'm Mike Mirshahzadeh.
And I'm Ashley Ward.
And you're listening to the What Matters podcast, and our mission
to spotlight top RIAs, wealth managers, and investment professionals who are redefining wealth management.
Join us as we dive into their journeys, strategies, and insights.
Whether you're an investor or an inspiring pro, this is for you.
Get ready for impactful conversations on the What Matters podcast. Hey, everyone. Welcome to another exciting episode of the What Matters podcast. I'm your host, Mike Mirshahzadeh.
And I'm Ashley Ward.
Today, we're thrilled to have Lan Bridgers with us, CEO of Integrated Financial Group, a prominent figure in the financial services industry based in Atlanta, Georgia.
Welcome to the show, Lan.
Thank you both. I'm excited to be here.
Well, we're excited to have you with us today. Let's dive right in. So, Lan, let's start by delving into your remarkable journey in the financial services industry. Can you share with us and our listeners how your passion for helping others to achieve their goals led you to now your current role as CEO at IFG?
Yeah, it's been a journey. I never would have guessed that I would be where I am right now. I think, going back, my major was in political science and I had a minor in history. So never really guessed I would be in financial services, but it's been a 24-year journey now. And I don't think there's a better industry to be in. If you really want to make a difference in people's lives, I often say oftentimes outside of family, extremely close friends or immediate family, if something good happens in your life or something bad happens in life, oftentimes that next phone call is to your financial advisor. And what a place to be, especially when times are tough.
Yeah.
Very cool.
And let me ask you this, I'd love for you to share a little bit about your company there. Tell us about the journey there. When did you get started? You guys have grown to, quite a large number there. How'd you guys get there? Please share.
Yeah, happy to. I think it's, and kind of going back to what Ashley said, really our goal here is to help people reach their full potential. And, we're really focusing on independent financial planners, people who want to be business owners. But the whole premise of Integrated Financial Group, or IFG, really came out of our founder, Don Patrick's, just this image that he had, this vision he had for this idea of what we call the brain trust. A type A business owner who loves the idea of caring and sharing of ideas. That whole idea of iron sharpens iron. You learn most from your peers. And so back in 2003, Integrated Financial Group was started on that premise. Don was the director of financial planning for a great group of really young advisors who were more in a captive setting. And Don came up with this idea of Integrated Financial Group and ran the pro formas and made up a lot of numbers in his head and put a pretty big risk to bring Integrated Financial Group together. And the founding members, many of them who are still here, came about in 2003. Over the years, we've grown since then, been very selective about who joins the group, making sure that they fit the type of culture, that they're doing great financial planning, this desire to be an independent business owner, this idea to learning and sharing with your peers. So that's really the start of it. I actually didn't get here until 2013, so about 10 years in to the journey of Integrated Financial Group.
So you started in 2013?
Yes.
If you don't mind me asking, what position did you start at in the organization?
Yeah, I was a business development officer. Don Patrick, our founder, had his own business. It really helped subsidize Integrated Financial Group those first 10 years. And he finally got it to be profitable. And then he hired me and he went back in the red again. So my job as the business development officer was really to grow the revenue of the firm. And so when I started in 2013, we had about 22, 23 teams in about 6 states, probably about $1.5 billion in assets. Today, we're at 67 teams, approximately about $8 billion in assets. And So my job immediately, my first thing was I wanted to get this guy who took a bet on me back in the black and out of the red.
So,
wow, that is very impressive.
Let me ask you this. In the growth of 1.5 to 8 billion over the last several years, which is remarkable, by the way, had you guys done that organically, inorganically?
Yeah, so, really it's been a lot of our advisor growth. If you look at us in our peer group, we are considered a hybrid RIA within the LPL system. And we have been consistently ranked number one as existing advisor growth. meaning our existing advisors are growing at a great pace. We are, I think, a big part is one, who they are, but also the services that we provide to them. But we have not acquired one practice over that 10-year period. Now, some of our advisors have acquired practices in their own hemisphere, their own ecosystem. But for us, this has been people joining us, either coming from another independent broker dealer or coming from a wirehouse or more of a semi-captive setting. This is them saying, hey, you have what I've been looking for. And Mike and Ashley, I'll share with you guys, we really turned down about 9 out of every 10 advisors that we talked to about joining us. Not that they're bad people, but some of them have really good businesses, but we're just not the right fit for them. I had someone tell me once that a really good financial planner is very picky about the clients that they bring on. We're
Right.
really the same way about our financial advisors. We're really picky to make sure that we're the right fit for them and they're the right fit for us.
Yeah, and like any culture where there's, I know that the sales is a 4-letter word in this industry. Nobody likes to refer as a sales culture. But when you group these type A personalities together, and then you got that one guy or one gal in there that says we could do this on our own, and then they never leave alone, right? They're always going to, the one rotten apple is going to spoil the bunch, and which could be, which can cause damage to the organization. And I think in what you're saying there, it's great that you guys are selected. You guys deserve to be. And when you said that your advisors are acquiring, or you're saying, are they acquiring books of business from other maybe retiring advisors, or what did you mean when you had said that?
Yeah, great question, Mike. So yes, we've had advisors who identified other advisors in their area. We're in 13 states right now, and definitely another local advisor is retiring, or there's a book of business for sale. We've also had 5 in the last 24 months internal succession plans, meaning one of our existing advisors said it was time to step away, or was selling a part of their book, and another advisor within IFG acquired it. And it's really a great story if you think about it. Our advisors share that, hey, yes, this is my own business. I have my own branding, my own DBA, but I'm part of this group IFG. I'm part of the brain trust. And I have like my other advisors that I'm sharing ideas and getting better at. Well, I had 66 other advisors to pick from. I picked this guy to be my successor. And so we see hardly any attrition at all, going from one advisor to the other advisor. And really, I think what the great thing about our advisors is this: they realize that this is not going to be a win for the seller or the buyer unless it's a win for the client. And that communication, that handoff, has been very successful. Of course, we step in, we help in the process, we help match up what we think is the right scenario. But ultimately, it's the two of them getting it done and working it out and saying, all right, how can this be a win for the seller, a win for the buyer, but more importantly, a win for the client?
Gotcha. And so how many total advisors do you guys have? You said 67 teams in 13 states. How many total advisors there?
Yeah, I've kind of gotten away from that. It is over 100. I want to say it's about 110 to 115. We have some associate advisors. Some of the advisors' children have come into business. So they're considered financial advisors, but they're not really producing advisors. They're more servicing advisors or more focusing on a certain aspect of the business. So, of the 67 teams, some of them are sole proprietors. It's just them. They're using our virtual assistants. They're using our trading team. On their website, they have our people, which makes their team look bigger. But then we also have advisor teams that have 4 to 5 advisors, and truly running it as a larger firm.
And so when you say that those guys, are they more operating their own I wouldn't say business, but they're more operating their own thing and then using you guys as a back end, or
Yeah.
and they use your guys' name, or they deviate on their own name?
Yeah, I would say 95% of our advisors have their own DBA names. Oftentimes, we're working with a team about to join us. We're helping them to develop their brand right now. But oftentimes they will join us, and they either already have their brand and they bring it with them. We have about seven advisors who use the integrated financial group name, and we don't encourage that. This is about them. This is about their business and ultimately what they're trying to do with their clients. So we prefer them to have their own DBA. Our job is really to be behind the scenes. You guys have probably talked to a lot of financial planners, and what they really love to do is to be with their clients, help their clients, and find new clients. Everything else is a chore. So here at Integrated Financial Group, IFG, we can handle all their operations and HR. We can take care of their payroll. We can handle all their trading and investment solutions. We have our own virtual assistant team that can step in if they don't want to hire and manage people. And then really the best thing I've mentioned, marketing as well. We have a marketing team. But finally, we have what we call our advisor development, a business coach / consultant, which I don't know what the value is, probably a $30,000 to $40,000 a year value. But our team does an amazing job of, they're really great financial planners, but where we can help out is helping them become great business owners.
Thank you for sharing. I appreciate that.
Absolutely.
And so I'm curious, Lane, so out of those 67 teams, what does the average assets per team look like? Or what kind of size are we looking at?
Yeah, we have teams that have over 400 million in assets, larger teams. We also have some individuals who are in the 2 to 300 million range. But if I would run it across the scope, I would say we're probably on average, the average team would probably be between 60 to 70 million in advisory assets. I kind of leave the brokerage side out of it. So, for most of them, their revenues are going to be between 5 to 700,000. And, ultimately, we're going to try to get them to a net 75%, everything factored in, which is really, I know people talk about payouts and things along those lines. Really, the net, what are you taking home after you paid your expenses, is really, truly the number that makes the difference.
Right. And I do want to ask you a bit about you. You, I see in 2020, if I'm not mistaken, you took over the role as CEO from the founder, Don Patrick. Can you tell us a little bit about that transition and, how it led to you taking over the firm here?
Yeah, it's really a funny story. So I was hired in 2013 to do that, and Don Patrick did it right. He had a job description. This is going to be the pattern. You're going to do this for 2 years, and you're going to do this for 2 years, and all the way up. And it was supposed to be in 2022 when I would take over as the CEO. But he told me, hey, you could speed it up or you could slow it down based on these certain metrics that he's put in place. And so 2020 became the year. Ironically, and this is actually really funny, we both have the same business coach. Her name is Madge. She's amazing. And she said, well, Land's not ready to be the CEO. He hasn't handled a real legitimate crisis yet. And sure enough, it was September of 2020. And Don said, hey, we've handled these first 8 months of a global pandemic really well. We were prepared for it. We knew how to handle it. We didn't miss a beat. I think he can check that off the list now. And so I think what Don says is what better way to show faith in the transition period than having someone come in a situation and time like this.
Real cool.
Wow. Yeah. Tell us a little bit about that time. How was that 2020? You're put into this new role and global pandemic hits.
So I will tell you, I don't know if this is like insider information or not, but I actually was a YoungLife leader. I don't know if you're all familiar with it, but I was a ministry of high school kids. And one of the kids, actually, his family was from China. And he reached out to me and we'd always just stayed in touch. And he was out of college at the time. And he's like, this is really bad. You guys got to get prepared. And so my director of operations, we actually kind of had a trial run in late February. We made sure everybody had computers, everybody could work from home, everyone had scanners, printers, all the things that we needed. We wouldn't miss a beat with trading. Our virtual assistant team wouldn't miss a beat. No one's money would be impacted. We were ready to go. We missed paper clips. One of our traders needed paper clips, and that was the one thing we missed. But when really that March 13th timeframe happened, and we really went fully remote, we were ready and prepared. And ultimately, as a leader, you didn't have all the information that you needed, and you certainly didn't know which information was valid or not. But so what you do is you shorten your time frame of planning. We're not planning for the quarter anymore. Let's plan for the next 2 weeks and make decisions based on that with the information that you have, but also being very transparent of this is our best course of action right now. It could change in 10 days. And ultimately, I think that mentality, our team was amazing. They're awesome. Our advisors did incredible things with their clients. And so ultimately, it had been a time of great growth and kind of a pivot and transition, I think, for the industry, our industry, and a lot of industries. But ultimately, we handled it really well. And what I love is one of our advisors actually bought popcorn boxes and filled them up with popcorn and a gift card and some other things that you would have at the movie. And he sent it out to his clients and said, hey, I know you're at home, have a movie night on me. And those type of things that they were sharing with each other, just, hey, everything's going to be okay. I'm here for you. But make sure you guys enjoy the night on me. And I thought something like that. Those type of stories that came out of the pandemic were, I think, just instrumental in moving us all forward.
Absolutely. I love that. So tell us, Land, in your experience, what are some of the most valuable entrepreneurial lessons you've learned along the way? Is there any insights that you can share to help aspiring entrepreneurs, wealth managers navigate challenges and really establish themselves in this competitive landscape that we're in today?
Yeah, it's a great question. And I think, the current generation of financial advisors and probably entrepreneurs are different than this next upcoming one. There's no doubt about it. Expectations and things along those lines. What I would say to people my age and who are looking for that kind of G2 next generation, one is you're going to have to be patient. They are out there. The right one is out there. But truth be told, you can learn a lot from them as well. And what I've learned in this whole process is if they know the end goal, and just like Don laid it out for me, you're going to do this role for 2 years, and then your compensation is going to go here, and this is the next role, but these are the metrics I'm going to measure you on, and then you're going to do this. If you lay it out, not just verbally, but written down and visually, like almost like a diagram, they get it. And if you can show them the bigger picture, they get it. It makes a lot of sense to them. What I also would say to the next generation is be patient, learn. Ultimately, I say it this way. A lot of them desire to be in the spotlight right now, but if they're not ready for that spotlight, that very thing they desire will blind them if they're not ready. And so my encouragement to them is be patient, that the payoff will come. Ultimately, just don't think, I think the struggle they have is they see their friend do some type of startup or become some type of influencer and they're making X amount of dollars, and that they feel like they're being left behind. But the long-term payoff of what this business and what this industry does and the impact you can have on people's lives far exceeds any immediate payday you could get in your mid-20s.
Yeah.
And so let me ask you this: looking ahead, what do you guys see is the future for your RIA? Where do you guys, what do you guys have an AUM in mind that you're planning to get to? What are your plans there? How many more offices or states do you want to get into? How many more teams would you like to develop?
Yeah, the question of, culture is not what you say it is, it's what you tolerate. And ultimately for us, protecting that culture really isn't about a number. And it's not about a number of, potential assets, a potential advisor. It's more about the person. I believe if we keep getting the right people who fit what we're looking for, again, by my guess out there, if we're turning down 9 out of every 10, about every 5 or 10% of the population out there is desiring something like what we have. Now, we can help all of them out, but ultimately, just like a good financial planner, who do we do our best work for? And that's really what we try to fit. So to answer the question of growth, I get asked that by our advisors all the time. And it's a very simple answer I say to them. If you promise me that you will never slow down and you will never stop bringing on clients and your clients will never pass away and your clients will never go from accumulation to distribution, we'll stop growing. But like any service industry, if you're not growing at 10 or 15%, you're really going backwards. And so we want to continue to grow. We're really focusing on trying to bring on younger advisors. I'm looking for young male and female advisors, 20s and 30s, who understand financial planning, desire to be a part of a financial planning firm, and who want to do that. I want to find and build up the next generation. One thing I think is unique about Integrated Financial Group is there's no set exit strategy for us. Don Patrick, our founder, is still involved. He said, I want this place to be here for IFG and for our advisors in 50 years. Well, I say, I want to be here in 75 years. And ultimately, I think we have the internal succession plan in place where this isn't some type of exit strategy. We don't believe any type of private equity or outside capital is going to help us maintain our culture. So we're going to grin and bear it and fight through all the stuff that's going on in the industry right now. But we will be here as an independent firm because I have advisors in their 20s right now. And this place better be here for them when they're in their 70s.
Really cool.
And
Sorry about that, Ashley. I had one more question there. Uh,
no problem.
I think when it comes down to it, um, and and you guys are looking for for those younger advisors. you know, I was going over this last night with a coworker, and in regards to how many people are actually retiring in this industry, in the next 10 years, and it was north of 100,000 individuals, and the average age in this industry being what I think it was close to 57 or 58 years old, and having that exodus that's going to be taking place. Um, Give us your insights on that. What do you think? On that is are you guys looking for individuals that, for say, went to college, or you know, or just individuals that you think are that are going to bring something to the company and stay around for a while?
Yeah, so that's a challenge for us because we don't have a W 2 model. I don't, if I brought on my own W 2 advisors, I would actually be in competition with my existing advisors. And other, big names have done that, and that normally doesn't end well. And so
Mhm.
for us, it's training. If we talk about being consultants and coaches to our advisors to become better business owners, it's training them to identify, hire, train, and retain the next generation. And we can help them go find these people. And so I think ideally, it's the person who has a CFP who could be in a bank setting or on a bigger team. A great example was I was talking to someone the other day. CFP he's a great person. He's at this business, and it's a family business. And it's a big firm. There's really no upward mobility for him. And
Mhm.
so, all right, well, hey, come join us. We used to depend on Merrill Lynch and Morgan Stanley and all the big wirehouses to train everybody for us, and then we would take them, when they got tired of being there. They're not training people like that. So how do you find the right people? How do you train them? And I think the industry needs to do a better job of getting young people in the business, especially young females in the business. This is a great business. If you're female and you want to be a business owner, you want to have a family, the flexibility is there, and they're great financial planners. So the industry,
Right.
like we are literally talking about it every day of how do we get younger people in this business. And I think there's through some insurance companies, there's opportunities to they do a good job training. The hard part was traditionally you hire a class of 60 people and you hope 5 people make it. Um,
Right. Right.
the margins are not there at the RIA level to do anything at that scale. So you got to be really good at finding the right traits, the right characteristics, the right people from the start. And I would take less industry knowledge, and if it's a really good person who I believe will be successful. I can't teach someone to be successful. I can teach them the industry, and that's
Mhm.
that's what we're really talking to our advisors about, trying to give them the right model to be successful to do
Do either of your daughters have plans to get involved?
that. But ironically, my younger one can explain what I do better than anybody else in the family. But no, I have a daughter who's a freshman in college. My guess is she is going to be in some foreign country doing some type of mission work someday, and who knows what that's going to look like or where she's going to be. But that's been on her mind since 7th grade, and it's not leaving.
Oh.
I'm not sure about the younger one yet. She's very talented, does really well in school, but she's got kind of that common sense, street smart. She'd probably be a pretty good business owner.
Real cool.
And this is a question that just came to my head here, kind of curious. When you're talking to some of these younger advisors who are, thinking about the move from the big wirehouses, what do you see as the most common, point of resistance or barrier to entry for them to leave those golden handcuffs?
Yeah, I'd say part of the biggest thing is the disconnect to somebody who is already independent. And many of those, if you've been in the business 20 or 30 years, literally you took a risk on yourself. You really stepped out with nothing and said, I can go do this. And you strapped on the boots and you made it happen. Uh, I think this next generation, and especially, if you take somebody right now who maybe is engaged or getting married, later this year, or somebody who is recently married, there there's more. I don't know how you want to phrase it the right way. It's an uncertainty, less of a willingness to take a risk on themselves. They want more stability. And so in my mindset right now, it's like, okay, well then, it can't be, hey, it's going to be an eat what you kill type position. if you want to bring people in, you're going to have to give them a little bit more margin than maybe this current generation of 50-year-old advisors went through. And ultimately, what encourages and drives them is a little bit different than what encouraged and drove somebody 30 years ago. And so I
Mhm.
think that
Absolutely.
it's that disconnect between I'm here and established right now, and I want to get, and then somebody who wants to get in this business of how do we connect the two and get them speaking the same language. And I think oftentimes I hear people who are frustrated where they were. The advisor they're with thinks they're saying all the right things. They think that they're saying, "Hey, I laid out the plan for you. I don't know why you're not happy," but the younger advisor's not hearing it, and so they think they're saying it. They're not hearing it or thinking it's never being said. There's a major disconnect that's going on there from a pure business communication terminology and ultimately communication. That's why I say it's got to be written, it's got to be verbal, and it's got to be laid out visually as well. And then ultimately, hey, tell me what you heard me say. Get them to say it back to you to see if they heard it correctly. Because I think there's a lot of disconnect right now between generations within the industry.
Yeah. That's very insightful, and I agree with a lot of what you just said there. So looking ahead, what do you see as the future of the industry? I mean, you see these younger advisors really making a name for themselves. You've mentioned the importance of training them and turning them into the next generation. But what do you see as the future of the industry in terms of trends, technologies, strategies that you think are really going to shape wealth management?
Yeah, I'm going to start with, I think, the next generation of clients. I really believe, now let's think about what they've been through. Many of them probably were fairly young with a dot-com bubble burst. And you have the financial crisis. You had a pandemic. They've seen their parents go through some hard times, and they also see things happening very quickly, where just industries are going out of business overnight. And so I believe that this idea of technology is going to be the one shop all for all of them is not going to be the case. We've seen robo advisors come and go. Now the talk is AI.
Yeah.
I think sitting across from a person, and it might be on a Zoom call, and that's fine. I prefer in person, but the idea of having a person who's looking out for me, a person I can talk to, a person who understands me, a person who gets me, maybe a person who has gone through some of the same things as me, is what this next generation of clients and investors are going to want. And yes, the technology will come alongside and be a complement and be a resource and be a tool. But this conversation of, hey, you get me, you understand me, I think is just going to be intensified with this next generation. Now, as far as the
Thank
industry,
you.
it is moving fast, and the pace of how fast it's changing is really mind blowing. It's going to be really interesting with the amount of outside capital that's come to the industry. It's
Mhm.
like, oh gosh, we have found this industry, and it's look, it's got a recurring revenue model, and this is great. It'll be really interesting when the market goes through a major correction or we go through a recession, because not a lot of the people, the private equity, have gone through that cycle. It's going to be a big wake up call, I think, for some of those conversations between advisors and the outside capital groups if we do go through a major correction or recession. So it will be interesting to see what that looks like going forward. I believe that there will always be a place for the independent financial planner. There will always be a need for it. I think ultimately, as you see massive consolidation, that will, I believe, continue to happen. I believe you're going to still have the pockets of exactly what we're looking for, which is, hey, this is my business and I own it. And I don't want somebody else telling me how to do it. I mean, if you think about it, what's happened to private equity is somebody was at Morgan Stanley. Sorry for saying, I keep saying Morgan Stanley, but somebody was there. They left to start their own thing. And they've been with this group, and they've been their own independent. And now that group got bought by a private equity firm. And they've managed it for a couple of years. And now they're just going to sell it back to a bank. And the person who wanted to get away from the big bank is actually back at the bank.
Mhm.
And the irony of it is amazing. That's everything you desired, was to get away and to be able to set your own client experience. And here you are sitting in the exact same seat again that you tried to eject from 10 years ago.
And so let me ask you this. What, where do you feel things are going in regards to, let's say, residential and commercial real estate. Do you think that the other shoe hasn't dropped yet with commercial real estate? The values of commercial real estate has gone down. Mostly I'd say over the last 3-4 years, with people not particularly working in the office setting anymore. Talk to us about that. Let us, tell us what do you think about that? Is that something that you feel is a is a sector that as an alternative investment that people should be looking at, or treasuries, or what do you feel is exciting opportunities that are coming ahead? And let's say, what do you feel the economic outlook is as well?
Yeah, so I don't know if you remember, Mike, but the business I'm in is really a service industry. I am serving these advisors, these financial planners, and I am not watching the markets every day. I'm watching my advisors and helping them with the business. But here's what I'll tell you: the American spirit is resilient, and you have a lot of people, a lot of young people who are married right now, who the idea of being in an apartment or renting is wearing off on them, and there's going
Right.
to be a pent up demand to get into their own home. So if there's a pent up demand for something in America, there's always somebody who goes out there to try to meet that need. And so I believe that if I'm in construction or residential construction, that new homes are coming. The interest rates right now, it's a major deterrent, and the Fed's got to get some things under control. It's going to impact things, but I do believe in capitalism. I do believe in supply and demand. And I do believe that there's a great demand to be a homeowners, and that supply will catch up with it. And so what that does with pricing over time, long term, I go back to real estate's location, location, location. But ultimately, it'll be interesting to see, especially in the commercial side, as some of these, long-time mortgages, debt has to be refinanced, what that looks like, and what the ripple effect is across the industry. But like I said, things will always revert back to the norm or the mean, and we'll do that again.
Thank you.
I think that's the perfect note for us to end our conversation at today. Thank you so much, Lan, for joining us, sharing your wealth of knowledge and your expertise with us and our listeners. We're very excited to see what is to come for you and the whole IFG team there. Thank you again for joining us.
Yeah, thank you, Ashley. Thank you, Mike. Great to be with you, and maybe do it again sometime.
Yeah.
Thanks. And to our listeners, thanks for tuning in to another episode of the What Matters podcast. Stay tuned next time for more engaging conversations on topics that truly matter. Until then, take care. Thanks, everyone.